Okay, guys, pay attention because I want to introduce to you what I consider to be the most powerful panel inside of Adobe Photoshop, and that, of course, is the Layers panel. Let me go ahead and drag it up here so we can see it better, give it a little bit of prominence. Panels are also referred to as palettes. That's the old terminology, and you may hear the Layers palette, the Swatches palette, the Channels palette, as opposed to the word layers, panel, swatches, colors. I wouldn't really worry that much about it. It's just a term, but the new term is panel. The layers panel has layers, obviously, and there are different types of layers that we can use. You can have a maximum of 8,000 layers in any single Photoshop document. Now, that's more than anybody in the planet has ever used, as far as I know. Think of it this way. Adobe sat down and tried to come up with a program, and they keep improving on it, that gives us so many options. We never sit back and say to them, gee, I wish I could do this. I wish I could be creative, but I don't have what I need to be creative. The original maximum on layers was only 100, and I can't tell you how many times I wish I had had more than 100 layers. I have never wished for 8,000 layers. Adobe is giving me everything I think I might need in the future to be creative. That's why there's so many of those. We have 3 plus a background. We'll talk about what the background is later. These are layers. Each one of these layers is a thin piece, if you will, of acetate. Actually, the word thin doesn't count there because we're dealing with a 2-dimensional area. But they're pieces of acetate that we can paint on. Each one of these has an individual item as part of your design. If I come over here to this one, pick up my move tool and move it, as you can see, there are individual pieces. Every time I select one and move it, it allows me to display that item or move it out from among other things. Although I can't imagine my life without layers, I do remember a time before layers came into Adobe Photoshop. They came in version 3. Before version 3, if you needed to make a change to an image, that would be like going onto a canvas that had dried paint and making a change to it. I love layers. I can't imagine my life without them now. Layers give us a lot of options. Each layer can be controlled individually by the options that we see up here. For example, I love blending modes. Blending modes give me the ability to blend items together, make them look different, special effects, a lot of things. We'll talk about blending modes a little bit later, but they're very powerful, and each layer can have its own blending mode. Opacity versus fill. Fill's been out there for a couple of versions, and it still surprises me a lot of people don't know the difference between it. We will talk about that in the next lesson set, but there is a big difference between those two, and it gives you a lot of power. We have locking mechanisms for each layer. Lock transparent areas, lock out painting, lock from moving, lock everything. You have the ability to lock out items. And of course, down here, you have buttons for chaining, locking, or linking 2 layers together, doing special effects, coming over here, creating a mask on a layer, doing adjustments, creating a group. There's your new layer icon button, and of course, throwing things away. One final area is this one right here. If you click this button right here, you get the ability to add groups, smart objects, a lot of things we'll talk about as this lesson progresses. The Layers palette is indispensable. It is the most powerful palette, in my opinion, in the whole program, and that's saying a lot.